it's a fix the carburetor, battery, fresh fuel. You know, it's just, those are the things that need to happen, and that's it. So, we got to figure out, so we got to run. Ish. I think it's an ish.
I was surprised they ran, to be honest.
Well, yeah. So it didn't take much. I didn't think it would take much after just looking at it. It seemed like it was in pretty good overall condition. It wasn't going to be, it hadn't sat for too long. It's been taken care of. I mean, somebody's livelihood, maybe they did it for a hobby or retired, but somebody's livelihood was based on this at some point. So it's been taken care of, because if this didn't run every day for the school, then they weren't making any money.
That's true.
So it's not like an individual owned this and rode it 2 months out of the year, maybe, and then put it away and didn't.
I actually know the mechanic who maintained these, and
yeah.
he was spot on. He took very good care of them.
So I had no doubts it was going to run. It does not run great though. Doesn't take throttle. Well, it takes throttle once and then not after that. And under load, we just took it around the parking lot in first gear. It's very boggy. So we definitely have some fueling issues. And I'm not thinking it's spark because of the way it runs, or the way it functions. It's definitely got old gas in it. Some old gas. We put some fresh.
Probably got to rebuild the carburetor.
We put we put some of the
carburetor.
Something like that. Yeah. So we got some fueling issues. So basically, we'll just make our list of like our needs, and then we can add in wants, because there's a lot of things kind of contending, and some of the things we're gonna talk about are very basic. Like, we need it to run and drive well, and then after it's running and driving well, I know I would love to just go whole hog and strip this thing down and just be full race spec, meaning nothing, no frills, just what it takes. But it really depends on what class and category we want to run in, which we need to make sure that we are corresponding our Loring rules with our Bonneville rules, so we can build one bike with one setup that will work at both venues. Yeah. So first thing we're going to do is we're not going to dive into doing that. We're going to go with some very basics, because we do know there are some rules that we do know is going to, no matter what, we're going to do for both. And it needs to run and drive. So we don't know what we're going to call this. So we know that it's the
name's going to come to us.
We know that it's a 94 Suzuki.
We'll call it Suzuki Sidecar for now.
Just Suzuki Sidecar?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the 94 Suzuki. And, okay, so 94 Sidecar. So we got spark. We have poor fueling. So I know for one thing, we need to drain the fuel system. So that we don't have any of the old fuel in it anymore. Now, this has a CV type carburetor on it, which is why I think it's actually bogging, because it needs to be rebuilt. We got to make a decision. Are we keeping the CV carb? Or are we going to go to like a Mikuni type carburetor? Yeah, so this is the CV type carb.
So you're talking about this slide in here.
Yeah, so if you actuate the throttle, see how that doesn't lift?
Oh yeah.
So I can bring this into the camera. So get focus, get my face down there, maybe it'll focus. Oh, it's focused on you, that's why. There we go. So if we look in here, I can run the throttle blades and you don't see this plunger move. If I flip it around and I run the throttle blades, you can see the throttle open. How this works is there's a vacuum diaphragm in the top, and it's based on a pressure differential between before the throttle blade and after that actuates a diaphragm here that lifts this. Now, that is a really common thing for a lot of motorcycles, particularly like my Evo Harley Davidson has a CV type carburetor on it, and there's kits that you can use for these. So like, see how I can push it with my finger?
Yeah.
And you can hear it.
Yeah. It's like a vacuum.
So this is a Mikuni CV type car. We could probably rebuild this one and throw it on and get it running. And then this has got the pump, the shot. So it's a little pump here that shoots some fuel, and instead of having a choke blade that actually goes, it's got a little squirt pump on there. So we could do two things. So it's keep CV carb or move to a, it's just like a slide carburetor.
Now the question is,
So you got a flat side or a round slide.
I guess we have to find out whether the sidecar falls into a production class at Bonneville or not.
Right.
Whether that's a usable replacement. I mean, is that a time sensitive? Was that available on this motorcycle at the time, or?
So that's a good question. I'm not sure. So
I'll
then,
check into that.
so then we need to check rules
Yeah.
and then / class. So in a lot of the classes, if you're going to run in a production classic or something like that, there are rules. You can change some things. You can't change everything. You have to preserve a certain amount of the original vehicle in order to stay in the class. So this is a question of, so the CV carbs, these can be really reliable, but when it comes to like ultimate performance, folks don't choose these because when you crack the throttle, it's not a direct, I'm opening the throttle blade, because it has another mechanism that is doing. These are nice because they're usually pretty smooth running. They adjust for the climate well, is basically what this does well. Which can be a plus. I mean, my Harley goes pretty good with one of these, but it also has a kit in it. But with different valving, it has different port size, different slide. There's a bunch of stuff in it. I think it's got a Thunderjet kit in it. I don't know if they make any kits for these. So we can either keep it if we have to, or we can move to a flat or round-sided carburetor that will just have a direct throttle response. Takes a little bit more tuning, but you can tune it in pretty easily.
Okay.
I could also, we can also just rebuild carb.
Or just buy a new stock one.
For now. So we could rebuild those, or new reproduction.
New stock,
yeah. So a reproduction, because they make reproductions of these. So we got to deal with the carburetor. So that's one thing. So that runs good. Another something that we've I noticed immediately is the cam box has my favorite red silicone all around it, so that means someone's been in there for whatever reason, probably, adjusting valve lash. I don't know. Actually, valve lash you can do through the front of the cover, so I'm not quite sure. Maybe it started leaking and someone tried to seal it up. It does leak though, so we're going to have to address that. And I think with that, we'll get a whole gasket set. So let's see if we can get a complete gasket set. So a complete gasket set, and then the immediate would be to fix the rocker cover, the cam box. Fix the cam box leak. Because as soon as the engine got warm, it started weeping out of there.
A little bit of that.
Yeah. So we want to fix it, and I can tell it's been doing it a while because there's a stain down the side of the jug on that side. Because the bike has been, so when the bike runs on the stand, you can see that it leaks down here and right down over the side of the engine case. So it's been like that a while. So we got to repair that. So that's an immediate. Now, the other thing is the front brake. So the master cylinder, I think it just needs to be exercised a bit and bled. So we got front brakes. So that's a drain and rebleed. So that's a drain and bleed. And from there, I think that should, drain fuel system and refreshen it. So from there, I think we get those things done. Once
Turn off the fuel. Head cut.
I thought middle was off. Was I wrong?
I just turned it off. Oh.
No, middle is off. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Up is reserved, down is on, middle is off.
Okay.
Yeah, like this is off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is reserved.
Okay.
That's on, and that's off.
It's interesting. It's the opposite of the plant pickup.
Yeah. So we do these things, and then we could actually, then the bike could actually be ridden around to feel like how's the rest of the engine feel? How's the transmission? How does it shift? Like, what condition is the rest of it in? Something that we will do is next time we have to get it hot to do it. We'll do a leak down test. So we'll do a leak down test on it. So we'll get it warm, we'll do a leak down test, and that will tell us how the condition of the rings, so how well the piston rings are sealing, and that'll also tell us how well the intake and exhaust valves are sealing. I'm assuming this is a 4-valve head.
What do you mean by leak down test? You put something on the top and
so this is what, Bob and Amanda came over to Gramps last night. We had pizza dinner and gave them a tour of Late Start Racing World Headquarters. And I was working on my new project, Tom Ford, the Volkswagen, and I was doing a leak down test in it because it's got 200,000 miles on it, and I'm thinking about trying to make some power with the car. So I want to know the condition of the engine. So a leak down test is when we actually add air pressure. So you bring the piston top dead center on the compression stroke. So the piston is at the top dead center where it will actually fire. So that's the point where it has to seal the best because that's where the combustion happens.
Yeah.
And the valves are closed because you're on the combustion cycle. So basically at that point, the whole cylinder should be sealed.
There shouldn't be any leak down.
There's no leakage. So at that point, everything needs to be sealed for the performance of the engine to be at its best. So you would want zero leakage. So zero leakage through the valves on the seats, zero leakage through the rings. No engine is zero. 1% is achievable though. And 1 to 3% that's a really good.
How do you do that on the cylinder head? You adjust
So
the
what
rate?
what you do is you'll put it at top dead center, you take spark plug out, and you use a tester that you add 100 pounds of air in, and there's a metered orifice in the tool, and on the other side of the metered orifice there's another gauge measuring how much pressure the cylinder holds. And the difference is the percentage leak down. So if you're putting 100 pounds in and your cylinder only holds 95 pounds, that means you have 5% is leaking. Then you can listen in the carburetor, listen in the exhaust, or listen into the crankcase and tell where the air is leaking.
I see.
So that's the leak down test. So without taking the engine apart, we can figure out what the leak down is. So what is the condition of the engine, is its ability to hold combustion. And then if it doesn't hold it that well, you can figure out where the issue is. So if you wanted to fix it, let's say it had 30% leak down, I would consider doing something about that, because on a little 125, 30% leak down, that's a big percentage of your power likely, versus a big block Chevrolet. If you have 30% leak down, you're probably not losing a whole lot of power.
Yeah, we don't have much power to start with.
Yeah, we don't have
can't lose any.
Right, we don't have much power to start with, so we can't lose any. So we'll do a leak down test and we'll find out the condition of the engine because of that. Because this does have some time on it, lots of idle time. It hasn't had the snot revved out of it all the time likely, but idle time can be actually more destructive to an engine than, running like on highway speeds, right?
Because of vibration,
Well, it's just, it's not getting a lot of heat into it. The oil's not moving around a lot. It's not a steady state at a higher RPM where the engine's not working that hard. Lots of things that can do it. Carbon things up. A lot of times actually motorcycles idling or just rev and then killing it, you carbon things up because you're not cleaning it out. You're not getting it hot enough. Yeah, you're not getting it hot enough. So we'll do a leak down test, and from that I'm going to put a question mark here. What's next? What's next? Because if it's good, then okay, so it's fine, and then we don't have to mess with it. But you know, if it does have some issues, you know, maybe we pull the cylinder head off and we touch up the valve seats or touch up the valves, because I do have some valve seat tools. These are going to have really small valves, but I do have some small new, it's a company New Way. They're carbide cutters that I think I can do a valve job on this. And then if the head's off, you know, you put it on the mill and take some off and it gets more compression. So leak down test will tell us the condition of the engine and whether or not we should be worrying about that. Did I put change the oil on here yet?
No.
Oof, duh.
Change the oil.
Change oil. So I'm assuming it's going to take 2050 oil, because it's a air-cooled motorcycle. So change the oil. That'll be the first thing. I did notice the oil that is leaking out of the can box is kind of black and smells gassy, which, you know, if a little engine like this is started and stopped a lot and it's carbureted, there's going to be a lot of fuel in the oil. That's just typical.
Yeah, I'm a two-stroke guy.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of fuel in the oil, and it doesn't, you know, the fuel in the oil takes away the viscosity, and it doesn't work well for long. Okay. Or it doesn't actually lubricate stuff like it should. So I think this gets us to the point of the bike. Do I put the front brake on? Yeah. This gets us to the bike runs and drives. And we understand the condition of the engine at that point. From here, the next step would be, what else doesn't work, or what else does it need? Like, you know, what's loose, what should be rebuilt? Does the tire have a hop in it from sitting? I don't know, stuff like that. You know, what do we need to do? So that's kind of like, this is the necessary to get it going.
And then we'll have another list after we get it going.
And then we'll have another list, which we'll save. We can save the bottom here for the rest of that. So now, I think what we got to do is we got to talk about Sidecar. Put that. And then I think I'm going to lose battery in this guy. Yeah, I'm going to lose battery in this guy. So what I'll do is, yeah, I'll break I'll break for batteries.
I'll correct it.
Cái này là S
Go.
And
the intro.
show. Yes.
Sounds like the siding's coming off.
Exactly. Guys.
So,
Yes.
let's what's the That's so
Dun, 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 dun. Oh yeah. I'm just gonna bring this in just for.
well.
Tape measure for this run. All right. So yeah, we can start into this. All right, so we went over, what do we need to do to get the bike an operational bike? Now, we're not just getting a motorcycle running. We're building a sidecar land speed motorcycle. So this motorcycle obviously is lack of sidecar, and we're not going to buy a sidecar to go on it because, well, I don't think there's any production sidecars that actually weigh less than this motorcycle. So it's pointless to try to find I mean, to me it seems obvious, but it may not be obvious. Like we're not going to go buy a sidecar to put on this motorcycle because I don't think we'd get very far with it.
Yeah, a stock sidecar would be just too heavy.
Yeah, it's just too heavy. It's too heavy, it'll be too big. So we've got to design and build the sidecar.
Seems pretty obvious.
Yeah, so we got to design and build a sidecar. So now, design and build it. If we're not going to buy one, we have to build it. And if we have to build it, well, how do we get started? Like, what's the point? So, in the rules, there are very specific stipulations, at least for Loring, and we need to double check what the Bonneville rules are. The Loring rules are mostly based off from SCTA anyway. So
very similar to the AMA.
Very
the SCTA
similar.
Is the Southern California Timing Association.
Yeah.
And back in the late 40s and early 50s, they are the people that really created the class system and formalized land speed racing and created all the different classes. They still run during Speed Week, and they also run it El Mirage in California.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's why they're called the Southern California Timing Association, because they started on a dry lake bed in El Mirage. They really created the structure for the program.
And then there's the ECTA, which is the East Coast Timing Association, not the East California Timing Association, and they base their rules on SCTA. There's a little bit of differences, but anyways, we have the Loring book today, and we're just going to look at. So, I think some of the real obvious things we should talk about. There's no passenger allowed. There's actually not going to be someone on this sidecar. It's just a motorcycle with a sidecar. So that's part of it. So then one of the next things, the sidecar may be located on either side of the motorcycle. It could be on the left, could be on the right. I guess we got to decide which side it should go on. I actually have no idea how we're going to figure that out. I guess it'd be a preferential.
Is there a preference based on the exhaust and everything? Or most sidecars that I see are on the right side of a motorcycle. But the prevailing wind at Bonneville is from the right to the mountains, from the highway to the mountains. So I would guess that if we want a sidecar that's best for Bonneville, you want it to be pushing that the sidecar's on.
Or do you want it to be pushing away from the sidecar so that the tire is touching the road? Now, the sidecar has to touch the ground, but if the wind is blowing you,
the wind goes from the highway to the mountains
and the wheel isn't quite touching the salt, that's okay.
That's a good point. So I guess, why do most people put it on the right? There must be a reason.
It's probably traffic. So in the United States, I'm guessing it's on there for a traffic reason. Okay. I can't tell you why though. We'll Google it.
We'll figure that out.
We'll Google it. Maybe we'll Google it. We'll put it down here. Why? There's probably some real simple answer. Okay. It's just the fact that neither one of us know anything about sidecars, but we're building one. And that's it. It's probably well known in the sidecar community. So all mounting brackets and rigid bar fittings must have adequate depth of engagement.
What does that mean?
Rigidity and security.
Like people making comments? Is that what they mean by engagement?
Maybe.
On their YouTube site? Engagement?
But security. This is financial security. All attaching fasteners must be safety wired or otherwise secured by verifiable beads. So yeah, big thing, motorcycles, safety wire. Motorcycles vibrate like crazy. A lot of times, if things get loose on a motorcycle, you're more apt to get injured than in a vehicle, or in a car, in a four-wheel car with a cage around you. It's
also in Loring and in Bonneville, you don't want to leave something on the surface because, like, I'm not going that fast, but my buddy like Jay Allen is going 240 miles an hour on that surface, and if he hits something,
if he picks up a bolt.
That's a bad day.
That's a bad day. That's a big deal.
You got to make sure you don't leave anything on the track.
Yeah, we got to keep the parts on the bike. So if it's not saving you, it's saving someone else. Okay.
So what it means, like all the caps and everything on here that could potentially become free has to be wired to the frame or to the motorcycle. So if it unscrews, it's not going to fall on the racing surface.
Which we will have to. So that just brought some that I feel like should be on here, but not yet, because we got to figure out what class we're in to figure out how much stuff is going to stay on it, to figure out how much stuff we've got to drill and wire.
Okay.
That's a good point, though. So now we started some actual numbers here. So the track width of the vehicle can be no less than 32 inches. So let's say we've got our motorcycle. So this is our front tire. This is our rear tire, and this is our, that's our third tire. So we'll put a little thing in between there. We'll put little bars like that. Boom, there, we have a motorcycle. Isn't that cute? So our track width would be this distance here. So this has to be
at least 32 inches.
At least 32 inches. So we can be greater than or equal to 32 inches in the track width. So just for giggles, in the track width, I imagine, that's a good question. Is that from the outside of the tire, or is that from the center line of the tire? I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. So this is a question. So center line of tire or outside?
The other thing that some of the people at Loring or at Bonneville told me when I said I was going to do this, they said when you create your sidecar, like say this is a side view, here's the wheels, here's the bottom, right, and then it's connected. What they said was what you should do is build 3 posts on here. Or 4 posts. And then because they want to test your ballast weight. And so they just use these round gym things. And they stack them up on top. And that way they can take them off, put them on the thing.
We're not doing that.
How do they know how heavy it is?
Because we're gonna laser plates that are flat. Because we don't want to
drag.
We don't want to stick a post up in there. We want something slicky Ricky in there.
Well, when the weights are on it, it's flat.
Ish. We can make it better.
All right.
We can make it better. We can do it. We can do a better job than that. So then the other thing is the wheelbase no greater than 110. So wheelbase I know will be center line of the wheel, here.
I mean that's not really up to our discretion. That's the motorcycle center line length, right?
That is, so if we leave this to production length vehicles, we are right now at, we are currently at 50, so I think we'll be all right.
Okay.
So, so we're 50 inches now.
It's coming out 32 from the side?
Yeah, so, that's the thing. So the 32 is, where is it? Well, so it's the track width. So the track is the wheel. So, but now I think it's actually center to center. So that would be like this. That's how wide it is.
Actually, if we roll this, these are actually really convenient.
Center. So if we throw the tape on there,
It's actually got to be that wide. Okay. Which is pretty wide.
And we just like make a platform.
Well, that's the next thing in the instructions that we're looking at here. So
So 32, so 50, we're good. Platform has to be 32. We don't have the platform yet, so we're going to build that. So then the next thing would be the sidecar wheel rim may be no less than 5 inches nominal diameter, no size restriction on streamliners. So 5-inch nominal diameter. Now my question on this one, which we have to, that's like 24. It is exactly 24. Good guess. This is 24. We can be as small as 5. Now, the question is, though, so if we have our wheel and our tire here, the question is it a 5-inch rim diameter?
Or is it with the tire?
Or is it a 5-inch tire diameter? I'm not actually sure. So, because it says nominal because it says sidecar wheel rim says it there, maybe no less than 5-inch nominal diameter. So I don't know if that is just a I don't know.
So for example, like on the streamliner sidecars that I saw in Bonneville,
yeah,
they had really small.
There's no restriction on streamliners, it says. Yeah,
okay.
It says no restriction on streamliners. So streamliners, it doesn't matter.
All right, that's why, because they had really small tires.
Yeah.
They used aircraft tires.
Yeah.
Because they keep their shape better in centrifugal force.
Yep. So Bob brought this wheel with him because it's off the parts bike, and it's a front wheel off from the same bike, and it is the raddest gold mag I have seen in ages. I've got to tell you, it is super cool. I got very excited when I saw this in the van, but then I got kind of bummed because the idea was for this to be our sidecar wheel, and you can't pick this up, but this is at least
Heavy.
12 to 15 pounds, and it's just too heavy, and it has too much inertia. It's too much mass to get rolling and keep rolling. So I don't think this is our play for our sidecar. And then I also was reminded by just reading the rules now again about the 5-inch wheel. So I think we need a smaller, skinnier wheel to be on the sidecar, which we could play with depending.
Ceramic bearings for the sidecar wheel and the 2 wheels.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll have to come up with some sort of good bearing, like an ABEC 7 type bearing. You know,
ceramic bearings, worldwide bearings are just incredible. They roll friction free forever.
Yeah, so we could do some crazy bearings. So that's it. Now the inside of the sidecar wheel must be covered. So if we let's start drawing our.
A lot of people do that with the fender. Yeah.
So here's our wheel, right? So then we actually have to have some sort of covering. So imagine this area here is covered, and this way here is to the bike. So this is the motorcycle this side.
So what I've seen a lot of people do is the fender just comes all the way down.
Yeah, and they cover it completely, so the air isn't hitting it. So they completely cover it with a fender type thing here. So that's one way to do it. So we have to cover the inside. That's a given. Now the platform must be able to accommodate a forward face. This is the part that I find very entertaining. The platform must be able to accommodate a forward-facing kneeling passenger of 5 feet 7 inches, and 170 pounds.
I'm 5'8", and I weigh 160 pounds.
So just curious, so then you're kneeling, so then your leg length is 24 inches, and you would only need a maximum of 14 inches. So it's like, we can draw a little diagram. I'm going to draw you, and then this is going to be your feet. That's you.
Okay.
So we only needed 14 inches. And then 24 inches this way.
Those two.
That's all we needed to fit you. But it must have a rectangular shape with a minimum dimension of 12 by 32, the 32-inch dimension shall be parallel to the wheelbase. So this actually, so I don't really understand, and again, this is something that maybe if you know about sidecars or this racing, it's more obvious, but if you fit in a 14 by 24, but the thing is they require you to have a 12 by 32, so it's actually saying that the sidecar platform needs to be
longer than we need.
12 inches, yeah, longer than we need, by 32.
So a little longer than 10 inches longer than we would normally need.
Yeah. It's longer than we normally need. Now, the thing is, if we think about 12-inch wide, so that's the platform itself. So that would be like the square aspect of it. And the remaining, so sidecar sidecar wheel loading. Sidecar must be loaded with secure ballast to assure stability. A minimum of 10% of the rig weight is required to be on the sidecar.
It's got to be 60 pounds for the AMA.
So so if for lowering it only needs to be 10% of the rig weight, this thing needs to be as light as possible.
Okay.
So the overall weight less ballast, 10% of that needs to be added to the sidecar after. So the goal would be thinking about whatever class we end up in, the amount of things that have to stay on the vehicle to stay in a class that you choose comes into bearing a lot of weight on, pardon the pun, a lot of weight on what we actually design and build.
The production class requires us to keep those things. We got to add that to the formula for the
Yes.
platform weight. Okay.
And now that's not a big deal because what we found in the rules is this is open. Basically,
We're creating new ground here. No one's ever done this.
a quick brush through the rule book says we could pretty much enter any category, any class, and just show up, break the beams, and get a record. So, but I don't like to just think that way. I want to think.
We want to go as fast.
I want to think about.
We want to establish a real record.
Yeah, a real record.
That's hard to break.
They're all real records, but I want to establish I want to think about the future. Like what do we want to work towards? Just so that I don't like doing things twice, basically. And I also don't want to go like straight into Streamliner like we were talking about originally, right? Because that's a lot of work. But if we could think about this in such a way that we can prepare it to easily move to each one of those next steps, then we should, we should do that.
Yeah, you mean think about it as a way that it's modular, so we could just alter it and bring it up into those other classes.
Or we just make the decision, okay, we're going to go into modified category because it's going to have to be heavily modified to be into a Streamliner anyways. Right. So if we just
start there,
if we start there, we could reduce a lot of the extra baggage and we could go faster, or we could reduce a lot of the baggage to make it easier to attach the sidecar, because if we remove extra bits, it'll be easier to do attachment points, which I don't think is really that big of a deal on here. We've got a nice open frame areas to add things on. Excuse me.
On this, where would we connect it? On this?
Well, so when I was
center here.
So I was thinking this front mount here. So this has already got a really nice bolting area right here that exists. We don't have to add anything to the frame. So I think this would be one attachment point. And then back here, we just have to, we'd have to add something in this area. I wouldn't put it on the back pivot mount just because the accessibility of this is easy because that's just a plate. A sandwich plate that goes on the bolts. We just put the bolts back through. Here we'll add some tabs.
Or could we take off the back footstool and mount it to there? Is that going to be strong enough?
So we could, and that could be strong enough, yes. But that comes back to what class do we want to run in? Because if I had a choice,
you'd modify.
Your feet would be here. And the shifter would be here because you do rear sets, and you would have
be down in a tuck.
Yeah.
And then my legs aren't creating as much resistance.
So if I had my initial thing when I saw this morning was that we go cafe style. We strip this thing down. So that there's
Nothing extra on here. Nothing at all.
no extra wiring, no extra nothing. We put the fork tubes up through the triple trees, and we put clip-ons and get you down, get the
Front end down.
get you down. Reposition the rear shocks out further so that we can get the bike lower, lower in the back. So lower the whole thing down. We move your feet, your foot position to the back, so you get rear steps so you lay out, and then we get the whole thing down lower, so our
Whole sidecar is in plane and lower.
So I almost have to think that, by definition, a sidecar would be a modified frame because it's not stock. So by definition, why would, if you're going to modify the frame with the sidecar, why couldn't you modify other parts? I'll look into it.
Yeah, we just need to look into it. So I think a lot of it will have to do with, I think, from the car stuff, because I know the car stuff better. You have to retain certain amenities, like a headlight. You have to remain the fenders. You have to maintain a chain guard. You have to maintain a tail light. There's certain
tape them,
there's certain things in classes you have to keep. But then if we move into a modified or an altered class, we can just wipe the thing clean, and we can probably. I don't know how much it weighs now. I can't remember what he has for a scale.
175. It's in my manual at home.
Hold on a second. We'll do that in a second. So I think he has a scale that's big enough for this. But so the weight of this, we could reduce the weight of this by at least 20%.
And if we reduce the weight of this
By 20%,
that means that reduces that ballast by 20%. So do you know the rule of thumb for horsepower?
versus
Weight?
speed.
Yes, or I know weight versus.
So if you double,
speed.
if you double the weight, you need 4 times the power.
Yeah.
So any weight that we can take off, we know that we're not going to fool around with the engine that much this year. So
I'll go on a diet before the race.
I used to mountain bike a lot, and there was always folks that spent a ton of money. They're weight weenies, is what we call them, weight weenies. They're folks that were just like, they go after every single ounce that they could take off the bike. And it's like, if you literally just lost 5 pounds, if you lost 5 pounds, that equates to like thousands of dollars that you would have to spend on your bicycle to change it. But anyways, that's just, reducing that weight.
Okay, I can do that.
Which that may even mean,
Just reducing weight.
just pulling
Everything off that it doesn't
have to have. And then getting it lower, getting the whole thing lower. Because you imagine, especially
adding the sidecar, because if the platform's down,
this up, you need to, you have to think about when you're going down the race course, you are punching a hole in the air of whatever size. The more compact you can make that hole,
less resistance.
So if we can get the thing down and take off, and then add a little, and then the other thing is aerodynamics. Like what can we add for any kind of fairings or anything like that without stay in the class? Yep.
Because there's partially streamlined.
Yeah.
So partially streamlined would be, at least in Bonneville, a partial streamline means that from above, you have to be able to see the rider's entire body.
Yeah.
Everything else could be streamlined.
Oh, okay.
So that's partial streamlining.
Yeah.
Full streamlining, you need a cage, and it's a whole different class.
Yeah.
Partial streamlining means that the legs and the body need to be visible. So, like, the people, they streamline everything but that little area. So everything is covered. Half the wheels are covered, half.
Yeah.
But I have to look into the rules a little bit more to see how that plays out for sidecars. Damn, it's a little more complex than I thought it was going to be.
It is. No, yeah, it is. But
I always think everything's going to be easy.
That's typical. It just happens. You're just like, because you build it in your head.
You're like,
right? You build the whole thing. Yeah. You build the whole thing in your head. Yeah. And it's, but it's okay. But the thing is just like going through a process and setting some goals and, reaching each one of those goals and milestones or whatever and moving forward. So, so the sidecar, the platform. So I think there's some pretty important things. We need to understand. So track width, by definition, should be center line of tires. not outside. It's center line. It's not this. It is the center line. So it has to be 32 center to center. So let's just do some quick math. So this overall width of this bike at the widest is like
About a foot.
about 12 inches. So let's just do.
So let's just draw a box.
So this is 12 inches. This is center line, which of course is center line of the wheel. And then we have to have a 12 by 32. Let's just add a box on the side of this that's also 12 and then 32 long. So this is also 12. So we have 24 overall width. Now, if that's 24 overall width with center line over to here, now we have to have 32 inches to center line of the wheel. So then we'll put the wheel out here. So 6, it's 6 for half from center to here, 6 onto there, to there is 18. So then after 18, we have another 24 inches. Am I doing math right now? 18. Oh, I'm struggling.
28
to 24. Yeah, it's got another 24 inches. So from here to the wheel,
It's a big gap.
is 24 inches. If you, bear in mind, that's just saying we take the required 12 by 32. Now, the question I have though is it says it must have a rectangular shape with a minimum dimension of 12 by 32. The 32 shall be parallel to the wheelbase. Okay, so it's not a square inch thing. It is saying it has, the shortest it can be is 32 inches. The narrowest it can be is 12. So this platform may actually be wider. Now, I drew the platform right up against the motorcycle.
That's true, too.
It doesn't have to be right up against.
It could be in the middle.
This platform can be anywhere in between, but then we have to go back to default to the 14 here because that is what you would fit in. Or that's our example. I mean, I guess it could be 12. I guess you could stuff you in 12. So I don't understand the correspondence between...
Which makes less resistance, having a wider platform that goes to the wheel or having the gap in there? Because aren't you creating, if you put it in the center, aren't you creating wind resistance on either side of the platform?
So it depends on what this looks like from the front. So if this is, I'm going to draw it, this is our motorcycle. I'm just drawing a box. This is the hole we're punching in the air. And then I'm going to draw our wheel over here. Now, the platform, if it just comes over like this, so the framing is that. Now, if we look from the top, that could literally be bars like this.
And then a small platform.
And then whatever frame, and then this is the wheel. And then our platform is just here.
I see.
That's all it has to be. So the frontal, it's really, to me, it all comes down to the frontal area. We want the frontal area of it to be as small as possible. It doesn't actually, to me, matter how big it is, unless what starts to happen is when you sit on the motorcycle, let's say the back of it starts to dip down. Now you've got a wing. So you kind of have to set this up. So when you're on it, and this is where adjustability comes in. We need to be able to tune. So we need to be able to tune in two planes. Yeah, that seat's not bolted on.
How far?
So we need to be able to
adjustments?
we need to be able to adjust it in 2 planes. So we need to be able to adjust it like this.
Yep.
And we need to be able to adjust it like this to make it optimal.
Do we need shocks? Can we make it a hardtail to stop more of that movement in the back? Don't we want this to be rigid?
It can be. I don't see why not. And just have front shocks.
Yeah. Does that now make it less of a?
I think that would be fine. Yeah. So that would be
Takes
less.
away a little bit of the adjustability issue.
So that would be less of an issue. The other thing that does is that allows us to lower the front and then easily adjust the rear to match the front. Now the front still becomes part of the equation, but it is less of a problem or issue, however you want to look at it, if we can fix the rear. And the other thing we can do with the rear is we can make that adjustable too. We can make it so that it is
fixed rod, but it's an
adjustable up and down.
We can do a turnbuckle with Heim joints here.
Because we don't need shocks. It's a flat surface.
Yeah, so we can do
Adjustable links with Heim joints so that we can adjust the rear height, lower the front. And then, yeah, the track width is just the thing. It's pretty wide. Which, I mean, like I said, if the frontal area is low, it doesn't really, it's not a big deal that the track width is wide. Other than, I don't know what it will feel like at speed, you know, so that's the width.
That looks about right from the ones I've seen.
Yeah. So, I'll just take this off and just eyeball it. So, going over here, so that's the width. I mean, that's not too bad. When you're drawing it out and you're looking at the math, it seems
when you take away
it seems
your
crazy.
feet, it's really not that.
So then it has to be 32 inches long, the platform. So this is the platform. So really the platform could be the length of the bike.
Yeah.
Or basically so this is the motor mount I was talking about I'd like to use.
From the connection points.
From that connection point to the rear. But again, the platform, the frame, so let's say this is laid out. Let's say the leading connection point is at the front, and then it comes out, and then I would say we kind of taper back into the mount here. And then this rear where it mounts could be anywhere here. So it's,
we don't have any, this will be fixed, but we don't want to attach it to this because if we adjust this, it will adjust together. Wheelie spot, big wheelies.
Yeah.
So then we can attach back here, and then the platform, like I said, can just go past. Because the platform just sets on there. And then the ballast, I would mount to the underside of the platform with bolts. So I just laser out steel plates.
Okay.
You would add your ballast with, maybe, or they'd actually lay in the pan.
I was gonna say, yeah, if they're flat, they're not. Well, then they're also creating less resistance if they're flat, like a flat plate.
It's just a flat plate. Yeah, we'll just create flat plate.
We may have to be able to take the flat plate off so it can be measured.
Oh no, of course. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, it's just bolted.
Okay.
You just have bolts that holds down, or wing nut. Something that was easy. Okay. But yeah, this is the footprint of the vehicular. All right. And a lot of people, you said, do it on the right.
Most people do it on the right.
We'll have to think. We'll have to research why, or
all the stock ones I've seen are on the right.
So the nice thing about, I think the thing about doing it on the right, I don't know if it matters. So like on,
My battery's dead.
oh, okay.
I don't know when it died, but
Well, yeah, so I've got this one capturing us being here, that guy there, and this one here for that matter. And that one's captured us up there. We'll have to figure out like a Google Drive or something like that we can share into.
okay. Can you upload the video to Google Drive?
I have a 2 terabyte Google Drive that I can put all this on.
Okay.
Then I can share it with,
Okay.
I can share the folder with you.
And I'll download it.
Have it on, you don't need it on in a drive for you, it's in that drive.
Okay.
So if the sidecar's on that side, the exhaust is over there. So I'm just thinking about like this.
I think it should be on this side. You're right.
I was thinking there's nothing here except for your leg.
It should be on this side.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if there's an advantage for either side, honestly. Other than it feels,
Mounting points.
well, we're gonna make those anyways. And we won't need a center stand or a side or we won't need either stand. We can take those off and
Bring them out here versus the exhaust. It's going to be better to do it on this side.
oh yeah, because the exhaust. You're right, because the exhaust goes in front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the starter's right there.
Yeah.
That is the starter. Isn't that a cute? That is a cute little bugger, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that side actually is better if we're gonna use that front mount, which we don't have to, but it seems to be
It's there.
your thing. Yeah. And then the other thing is like I was thinking like a cafe style seat. So let's say you're doing rear set
Very thin, yeah.
and you're
Down like that. I'm gonna be even lower. I'm gonna have my stomach on the tank.
yep. So you get down.
What I normally do sometimes, rather than using I'll use the front. But what you want is your butt down as far as possible. You can lean down on the tank,
Yep.
like this, and your helmet's just looking over.
Yep. So then, as far as all of this can be gone, potentially if this were all gone, we could get a flat, we can add the rear tire fixed. Then we could put your seating position just as low as possible with
Almost like a bench.
just a bench with a little lip, so you can push yourself up.
A lot of people do turn these into little cafe racers. That's what a lot of people do to these.
So it's basically, I'm thinking it get it to be cafe-ish, or cafe-esque.
Okay.
I would say. But again, depends on what class you want to be in, that whole thing. And you just drop a lot. The ratio of weight.
Well, quick. We got more done than I thought we were gonna get done.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do tomorrow, what would you work on tomorrow?
Well, I think we actually got done
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Because at this point, I really think I need to do some research on this first page. So I think that's the next steps for it, is research this first page, or figure out what I want to do here. So some of this stuff's really simple. I need to bring a container that I can drain the old gas out of. I think probably get a rebuild kit or just, I think if we just get a rebuild kit or a brand new one, so that we can just,
The new one's 28 months.
yeah, so we can get it running for now. Basically, just make a final decision on this stuff, right? Get a new one, get it running good, so we can test the rest of it. Get the gasket set, get that ordered, so we can fix the cam box. Repair the front brake, whatever that is. Do the leak down test. Get some oil, change the oil. I don't know if there's anything else. Oil, brake fluid. In that same Google Drive, I'll put a spreadsheet in there for the stuff. So then if I purchase it just for ease of getting it done, like if I go get brake fluid locally, or if I just get oil locally or whatever, I'll keep track of it.
Or if you want, I could create a Google account for the project, and you could just order it from, Amazon if you wanted. Would that? I don't know what's easier.
I think just doing the spread, so I can get stuff locally and just add it to it,
That makes sense.
just for the speed. All right, so do we want to close out this? We'll close this feller out because I still got to roll over here.
Oh yeah, I think we do.
So we got to roll. So we can, if you get over that way just a little bit more, so you see a bit. All right, so I don't know how much of that you're actually going to see, because we kind of just started going off, and
We'll do a little editing.
yeah, we're going to have to do some editing. We went off a little bit on a tangent. Well, not tangents, all good things, just maybe not that exciting for you folks, all of that. So, but basically we went down through, we figured out what do we need to do to get this thing running and driving, and to figure out if there's anything else wrong or anything else we should be concerned about. And then we went on to talk about basically how are we going to build a sidecar, because neither one of us ever have. Neither one of us have ever owned a sidecar. And then to boot, this is not to compete in land speed sidecar racing. It's not a traditional sidecar anyways, or not by the rules. The rules say basically it can be a very simple device that represents a sidecar from Loring Time Associates, and the Bonneville, the AMA ones are close. I still don't remember them exactly. I did do a little research on this like 3 months ago, when we finally decided this is what we're going to do. So we've got we run through some numbers. We have some questions. I think I answered this one. Track width is center wheel. I just had to think about it a little bit more. The sidecar wheel itself, whether the rim is 5 inches or the tire is 5 inches, we do need clarification on that, which the bike person will be Tom Daly. Who's the bike person?
Cliff or Tom?
Well, it's Tom and Joe.
Tom and Joe.
Tom and Joe Daly. Joe will be at does the starting line. Tom is the taller gentleman that does the bike.
If you research the lowering side, I'll research the AMA Bonneville side.
So we'll get clarification on this wheel, and then again, we still have to correlate that with Bonneville. This is just lowering. The platform size, we got a rough idea of, just kind of thinking about. It is what it is. It basically can be a 12 by 32. I think we could squit Duffy in a 12 by 32. Because it says you got to fit a 5'7", 170-pound person kneeling. There's certainly people that are 5'7" and 170 pounds that probably couldn't fit in 12 inches. Duffy was 14, but it says a minimum of 12, so I don't really know how to interpret that exactly, but it is what it is. We know we have to have ballast 10% of the overall vehicle weight. And we're going to, I think the easiest way to do that is laser out steel plates that we can adjust. And kind of what we hash through, you may not see it all, is optimally, this thing should weigh as little as possible, which would mean we would strip it of all of any extra bits as long as it didn't put us in a class, which it shouldn't. But Bonneville is the one I'm concerned about because there's more activity for sidecar, small CC at Bonneville. As long as it didn't put us in a class that we wouldn't be competitive in this year, because that's the goal. We want to be competitive this year. We want to make records. We want to break records, create records this year at both venues. That's the goal. So I guess that's the breakdown. That's what we're going to try to do. And these are the things we got to accomplish first thing. This is the short-term goals, long-term goals, break records.
It's going to come quick. We only got a couple months left. Tell me, it's like January, February, March, April.
January 3rd today?
Yeah.
January 3rd today, July. Well, it needs to be running before then and riding around.
So by July, let's say.
Yeah, so it's like by early July. So we got 5 months.
Yeah.
We got 5 months. But there's also like 3 other cars in my... Actually, there's potentially 5 cars in my responsibility-ish. Got Dad's car, got Brooks' car, now I got Tom Ford. Mayberry's if we get working on that rear engine dragster, and then you're going to see it tonight. I haven't told you about it. There's a surprise. There's another vehicle that's involved.
Well, I've kind of decided I'm going to do this, my 175, and maybe a 350.
And that's right. You did say 350. Yeah. So
easier for lowering. I don't know how I'm going to get all those motorcycles out to Utah, but maybe I'm buying a trailer.
Roof rack.
Trailer might be in my future.
Roof rack or a trailer. Yeah.
Or both.
Yeah. Flip trailer. That was not bad behind that old fella.
All right.
Or you could do, you do it the sideways mount with a trailer hitch, sideways mount. Yeah. So no trailer. It just goes, you drive it right.
Yeah.
And it's a little tilty job. That would actually be perfect for that.
Okay.
That's how you get your third one on there. Because the mileage will be great. If you can get the shortest bike
up and on the
hacked in the width, because if you can just keep it in the width of that vehicle, because of how it's shaped, the aerodynamically, it won't matter anymore.
I think
because if you can just tuck it up, I think it's 50 inches. 60 because of the overall length.
73.
73. It's pretty dang close.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't hurt your
not bad.
Yeah.
I would think that's the way to go.
Yeah, get one of those. So you get a Class 2 hitch and one of those drive-on Hudakis.
Yeah. All right.
The trailer, I think, will it'd be a little more cumbersome. And then if you need more, you do the roof basket with a foil. If you need to put luggage and shit on there, yeah.
I already have a roof rack.
You do?
The plastic ones, the big ones.
You got the two. Oh, yeah. Perfect. There you go. All right, so that's it for this. We know what we need to do-ish. We know some of the things we need to do, and there's some unknowns, which that's what we just figure out.
The way any project goes.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. Okay. Thanks for watching.
See you next time. Duff out.